independent.
My opinion on Taiwan is that Taiwan is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain.
Why does Hasan get into it so much and try and speak so authoritatively on it? I don't know why people act like China is some utopia. He acts as like a kind of a conduit of propaganda or something, doesn't he? Hasan has got the 14-year-old Facebook tape that I made. Do not gringle. Do not gringle that dingle. Okay, so I heard that there was some sort of drama. Apparently Hasan is on the hook for some bad take. Apparently him and Ethan argued on the podcast about something. I don't know too much about it. There was this that I saw. Please do not take these political conversations so personally. Being called a class traitor 1,000 times because I'm only a social democrat and not a full socialist makes me not want to have convos like this anymore, which probably is the least productive outcome. Okay. Who the fuck was doing that? Where was that happening? Did anyone see this?
Property developer and multimillionaire Tim Gurner has expressed the view that employees have grown too arrogant and believe that a substantial increase in unemployment, especially in the construction sector, is necessary to boost productivity. Listen to this fucking psycho. Dude, this guy's gonna get me killed. He does not. Here, can you do me a favor, Ian?
Oh yeah, I heard about this clip.
Dumbass's views do not reflect mine. Not for YouTube, but just for the
audience,
the communists watching, the radical communists watching.
You guys are not cold. It's like
It's a little
freezing
cold.
here.
Yeah, someone linked me this, but this doesn't seem to be the right one. This is like a different thing. This is After Dark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little cold.
Turn off the air.
I mean, the audacity to go out and say something in public, like this is some insightful thing. I mean, this man is a demon. Listen to this shit.
Who's this guy?
Gurner Group. So change the name. It's Psycho Gurner Group. Stop.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. You know, they have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view.
Nice.
We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Can you imagine actually like going out and...
I've got to be honest with you, when I hear stuff like that, I don't care whether or not it's true. It just sounds bad, doesn't it? It just sounds bad. I just think, right, get the fucking guillotines out. Let's go. But, I don't know enough about economics to say one way or another. Does anyone know? Is that true or not? 40 to 50% jump in unemployment sounds pretty fucking wild. I mean, to be fair, it's a property summit. This guy's probably a fucking multi-millionaire or some shit. There's not really any reason to be outraged. This is like, this is what they say, don't they, these fuckers? Talking about arrogance in the employment market, But yeah, I think I think obviously people are assuming that he means that the employment rate needs to jump to 50%, as in 50% of people need to be unemployed. Obviously, that's fucking retarded. He's not saying that, because if 50% of people were unemployed, it would fucking collapse our fucking entire economy. But obviously, you know, he probably should have been a bit clearer. But then he probably doesn't care. You know, he's probably sat in his fucking penthouse just getting his dick sucked by some hooker, snorting cocaine, throwing money everywhere. He probably doesn't give two shits, does he? He's saying that unemployment rates need to increase, basically, so that employers need to they've been given a lot of carrot, they need to give a bit more stick, right? And they need to reduce this level of what he considers to be this arrogance in the employment market, where employees, workers, us, right? You know, think that we've, you know, we're the gods. We're the gods of everything. Oh, we're the fucking workers. What we say goes. He's saying that employers need to rein that in a little bit. You know, that's what he's trying to say. But then he will say that because he's a fucking giga-capitalist. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, of course he's going to say that. That's his perspective, you know? And that's why, as a worker, you've got to fucking be like, no, I'm going to, you know, you're against that mentality. It's the fucking dynamic of the interaction between the two of you, right? Like, if you're a worker and you're saying, oh, this guy's based, you're, you know, probably a bit retarded. Like, you should be, again, in opposition to this mentality. But his mentality, from his side, is correct because he is a fucking giga-capitalist. That's the reality as far as I see it. But if you're like an economist and you're looking at it and the facts and figures and you're thinking, okay, well, this employment rise is important for X, Y, and Z economic reason, well, that's fair enough. You're making like an economic argument, you know? But from his perspective, obviously, you know, he's correct from his interests. His perspective is correct as per his interests in the in economics and his position in society. The giga-chad capitalist, soy jack socialist. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a lefty, you can stand in like opposition to this as like part of the working class, but being outraged about it doesn't really make any sense because, yeah, of course he's going to say that. That's going to be his perspective, you know? But obviously people just want to be outraged about shit. So he should just say we need to fire 50% more males. Anyway, someone link me the actual podcast.
Yeah, I don't like that.
He said he wants to preempt a war against China.
He wants to like fight against China, but he also kind of wants to like leave Taiwan to China. It's like very weird. He has like a very weird foreign policy perspective on it.
Right.
The obviously like xenophobic anti-Chinese perspective is like shared commonly by the entire intelligence community, our State Department. Obviously, it's like American policy, but the whole like leave Taiwan or first leave Taiwan alone and then give them all guns. Like make Taiwan like America, where every person in Taiwan has a weapon.
How do we feel about Taiwan, Hasan? China or not
Taiwan?
China? Or is it China or not China?
That's the American policy. Whatever the American policy is, whatever the American perspective is.
What's your opinion? You really won't say?
Oh my God, that's wild. I do think that Hasan is one of the lefties. So, like, for example, someone like Vosh, right? Vosh has all of the correct... Vosh has all of the correct US State Department opinions on these matters, right? So the tankies fucking despise Vosh. But with Hasan kind of plays it down a fine line, so he's able to still capture the tanky dynamic in his audience, right? He's able to kind of still appeal to people that would have more positive views of China, more positive views of Russia. I mean, look at his original takes. The tankies hate his guts too. Sure, there's going to be some tankies that do, but he's going to be able to still capture some of those people. Maybe tankies is a bit too reductive, you know. But to be honest with you, I don't want to fucking sit here and list out all the various different fucking strands of leftism. I'm speaking very broadly, okay? The point is, there's some people that will have positive views about China and Russia, normally in opposition to whatever the American position on it is. And Hasan is going to be able to capture a group of those people because he's kind of, you know, can speak out of both sides of his mouth about it. And he did this with the Russia-Ukraine invasion multiple times, and he was heavily criticized for multiple takes that were, you know, quite bad on the Russia-Ukraine situation.
No, I'm saying it's like one country, two systems.
So now that there's a ton of evidence, do you remember banning me for stating conservatives? No, the real skags I've got absolutely no fucking idea who you are. Never fucking remember banning you. No clue. Good luck, though.
Systems, you know?
No, it's not. It's two different
And in fact,
countries.
I'm going to ban you again for coming in and being so fucking obnoxious. Okay? There we go. So there you go. You've now been banned twice from me. Firstly, for some retarded comment, and again for a retarded comment too. And that was chat that made me do that, not me. Okay?
Really?
Taiwan and China.
Is that according to American foreign policy?
No, what's your opinion?
That was chat's fault,
What's
not
your
mine.
opinion? Taiwan independent?
My opinion on Taiwan is...
Nah, come on. That's not on. Come on. That was funny for as a joke, but I don't want to do that. That was funny for a joke, but I'm not going to do that, okay? Dude, you've had 7 messages in my chat. How the fuck do you expect me to remember who the fuck you are? Dude, you sent 7 messages in my fucking chat. What the fuck? There's some people that sent fucking 500 messages and I don't know who they are.
That Taiwan is the Chinese.
Hey, Chud, I sent a message in your chat 2 years ago. Remember me? No, no idea. Anyway, come on.
Taiwan.
Opinion. What's your opinion? Taiwan independent?
My opinion on Taiwan is that Taiwan is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of the people in Taiwan who
Therefore, it's independent.
who for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with.
Why are you
China.
being so carefully footed around
Because I know that there's going to be a celebration.
Oh my god. Okay. Listen, in defense of Hasan, what you may not have noticed there, but your brain did, it was fairly quiet actually. There was this like drum roll underneath. So obviously if you're trying, like, look, I think Hasan is doing the mealy mouthed shit, right? Don't get me wrong. But the drum roll makes it seem worse. The drum roll makes it seem like it's a lot worse. Trying to explain a detailed point whilst the drum roll is playing makes it sound like it makes it sound worse, doesn't it? But it's a good laugh, so who cares?
Reddit, there's going to be a subreddit post with like 1 million fucking comments being like, Hasan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China. He's a Xi Jinping.
That's what I heard.
That's what I just. It's already over. You asked me that question, like in jest, and it's gonna.
No, I was genuinely curious what you think about it.
I think that
Piker am using a gun.
I think that overall, it's contemporary history is complex. At the end of the day, if the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to fucking be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean?
They already
You can't.
done that?
No, there is no.
No, what Hasan said is true from everything I've read. The most people in Taiwan nowadays support just keeping the status quo, like the kind of
but they're
strategic ambiguity of
the
what's
overwhelming
going on
the overwhelming majority.
What's this? Isn't it kind of shitty of Ethan to do this to a friend? They're just having a conversation, aren't they? I don't think there's anything bad with that.
His consensus opinion is that they don't want to disrupt.
I mean, he just asked a question, and I don't think he was expected Hasan to give an answer that was quite so complex. I think he was looking for something a bit simpler, you know?
Relations with China, and they also, like, obviously, if it was a situation between like full-blown independence versus like becoming a Chinese state, like becoming a part of the Chinese state.
Do the people of Taiwan like pay taxes in China? Like, do they vote?
I don't know. I don't know
if they
the
even have
exact
elections.
details of that.
Do they have like travel status in China?
But the thing is, like, as far as Chinese Taiwanese relations goes, like the original inception of the country is
Taiwan
is a fascist dictatorship that America recognized as the real China until Richard Nixon normalized relations with China, and that's where they implemented the they call it strategic ambiguity, which I call lying.
Hold on, this says that the current administration of Taiwan maintains that Taiwan is already an independent country.
There's yes.
This does not have to push for any sort of formal independence.
There are well, that's because they don't want to do like a full blown.
Exactly.
They don't want to disrupt the status quo. That's why they're saying that.
Well, sure, they don't want to be invaded by China.
They want autonomy while simultaneously being under the Chinese banner, according
Seems like
to
they want
international.
independence, but they just don't want to be like attacked by China militarily.
Well, that's part of it for sure. So you understand how Taiwan was developed as a nation state, right? Like, so Mao purged and defeated the counter-revolutionary forces. They like Taiwan.
The thing is, right, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about fucking China in that much detail, so I just never really fucking get into it, right? Why does Hasan get into it so much and try and speak so authoritatively on it? It's okay to just say, yeah, I'm not that informed on it, to be honest. I don't know. Why is he trying to stumble through this so fucking bad? Because he's supposed to be on the political knowledge on the podcast. Yeah, but if you asked him about politics of fucking Malaysia, he probably isn't going to have a fucking 2 Scoobies, is he? He's going to be like, I don't know. Why do you have to know about China if you talk about politics? Because obviously people, even in like the news, even in traditional news organizations, you've got different people that do different desks. So you'll have like the foreign correspondent, you'll have the national correspondent, a correspondent for X, Y, and Z. So, you know, there's this kind of real cancerous idea, I think, that's developed that if you're like any sort of political commentator on the internet, you must at any time have a knowledge and expertise in every single possible political topic that can ever come up. And that's literally fucking impossible. He talks about geopolitics all the time. Well, he shouldn't. He shouldn't, should he? What was his... What? Remember that the Ukraine stuff. What was his takes on Ukraine? He said that they weren't going to invade. He also said that Hitler's only crime was trying to get more land or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like a year ago. Or 2 years ago now, was it? Was that 2 years ago? Was that 2021? Why is it the time, like, rockets on when you're... I feel like the last 2 years have gone by in a fucking flash. Anyway, the point is... You know, maybe Hasan shouldn't talk about fucking foreign policy and shit if he doesn't have the knowledge to talk about it.
Has been a larger part of like China historically. And
is this it? Okay.
But like you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government. Okay, so that's it. That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first. Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking... What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians at a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews, okay? That was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to fucking annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler, I think. That was like maybe 8th down the line.
I don't know. How long does he stream a day for? What is it? 8 hours a day? 10 hours a day? He streams like 6 days a week as well, doesn't he? You're allowed to be wrong like that if you're passingly attractive. The trouble is I don't think that he even got away with being wrong, did he? He got heavily criticised for that. Anyway, there we go. So that was one of his classics. Like I say, if I was piping out hot takes like that, they're just so ahistorical and wrong, I just wouldn't bother with that element. I just talk about stuff that I'm a bit more confident about. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a 30,000 viewer Twitch streamer.
And the original Taiwanese claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to what is now known as Taiwan. And that was the American foreign policy position as well, because, you know, China was communist and Taiwan was a fascist military dictatorship. So they were like, oh yeah, we're going to we're just going to completely ignore China until Nixon normalized relations with China. And then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall. But like that's gone away in recent years. I think the young.
He peaked in viewership already and complained that his numbers have gotten lower. His hope is that 2024 elections will stop the bleeding. Yeah, I mean, you know. I don't know. I mean, the thing is for me is like he's got like still got 10,000 viewers. Like, what the fuck has he got to complain about? It's so weird when the big streamers get so upset about fluctuations in viewership, which are normal, when they've got like it's literally tens of thousands of fucking viewers. Jesus Christ.
Younger generations have a different perspective on the matter. But
also, the other problem with Twitch is having is getting new people through the door. So he's probably, you know, I don't know what, like, there's no need to worry about it. At that level as well. It's insane.
Overall, like, historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country, it has been.
Wait, what did he say?
Normalized relations with China. And then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall. But, like, that's gone away in recent years. I think the younger generations have a different perspective on the matter. But overall, like
he's got the thing is I'm not educated at all on China, Taiwan, any of it. Okay, my opinion on China and Taiwan is whatever is the funniest in the given moment. If it's funnier to say that it's Chinese territory, I'll say that. If it's funnier to say that Taiwan is an independent nation, I'll say that. Okay, but the point is if you listen to him speak about it. It doesn't sound like he's being particularly authoritative with it. He's like, it's almost like he's bumbling his way through it. And I just don't understand why he wouldn't just say, you know, I don't know that much about it. I've read the Wikipedia page and that's about it. Good luck.
Historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country.
But then how are you better than the right-wingers if all you care about is trolling? Who said anything about being better than right-wingers? What?
It has been around for much longer than, like, as Elon Musk said, Hawaii being an American state. Much, much longer.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration.
Yeah, okay. Is the Hawaii comparison maybe like is there something in that? Is like the way Hawaii is treated by America, is that similar to how Taiwan is treated by China? I mean, obviously, the actual dynamics of how they're treated are not the same, obviously, because they're different fucking countries. But just, you know, like if you're for one or against one, would you not be for or against the other? Taiwan's got an actual economy. I suppose, yeah, what have they got over there? Like coconuts and shit. They got a couple of coconuts to sell you. That's about it. Coconuts and fucking fire. That's all they got. Okay, so there's nothing in that, no? God, I tell you what, I know Hawaii's actually more better than you're saying because the article about it's quite long. Look at this. Jesus, it goes on a bit, doesn't it? All right, I get the fucking idea. Where's the fucking bit I want to read? Here we go, economy. Sandalwood, whaling, sugarcane, pineapple, the military, tourism and education. What about the coconuts? What about the fucking coconuts? Do they even sell coconuts? I don't know. Anyway, you guys are wrong. Hawaii's got a very rich, strong economy based on coconuts.
Because they don't want a fucking war. But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be consumed by the Chinese party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
Am I saying the right place?
No, you
They were independent, and then they got fucking eaten.
They were
up.
not independent.
Oh, they had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan, and then they got eaten.
Wasn't there like massive protests in Hong Kong in opposition and response, and like the Chinese state sent fucking police officers to Hong Kong to suppress it? Wasn't that like a massive story that happened? Well, even I know about that, and I never fucking talk about this shit. And he's like, "Oh, what? Hong Kong? What happened there then?" It was in the fucking press. I'm sure he probably spoke about it.
Hong Kong was bought by you know.
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be?
There were certainly people that did not want to be a part of China. Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
Most of them.
A lot of
people there took a lot of pride in not being.
A lot of people enjoyed having Western civil liberties, while simultaneously like being in a unique position. But now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world.
There was a fucking uprising. Or was that American propaganda? Where is it? Let's have a look.
With a certain...
Whoa! Shush, Scott Adams. We can wait for your racism till later. So on the face of it, it was about a bill to amend the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance. After the failures of the Umbrella Revolt, since we had to fear the loss of the high degree of autonomy as provided for the Hong Kong Basic Law, as the government of the People's Republic of China appeared to be increasingly and overtly interfering with Hong Kong affairs. Okay, so basically, China came along and went, "Whoa!" Okay, no, stop. So obviously, we gave Hong Kong independence in 1997. They were previously a colony of the Brits. And China were like, okay, we're not gonna fuck around. We're not gonna do anything. We're gonna let them have their independence. And over time, the Chinese, in a very untrustworthy fashion, have slowly tried to pick away at the kind of Hong Kong independence. And that led to some uprising, and the Hong Kong people were not happy. Is that a pretty reasonable summary for someone that knows fuck all about it? Is that like okay? Is that more or less it? What's the communist angle though? What's the communist angle? What do the communists say about it? China good. Okay. No, we're not doing a full review. I don't care about the Chinese. I don't care about the plight of the Hong Kongese or Chinese. Good luck to all involved. Good luck to all involved. Just to get a little flavour of what's going on. So I think it's probably fair to say that Hasan is playing fucking dumb here then. Hasan is playing dumb when he's doing the whole, Hong Kong.
Enjoyed having Western civil liberties while simultaneously like being in a unique position. But now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world, because like at a time in like the 90s, Hong Kong was seen as like this prosperous middle ground. But
Metal Slime USA, libs always have to say America bad when the United States does unspeakable crimes. Well, here's the problem a lot of the time is you can absolutely speak of like the crimes of America and the bad things that America does. The problem you've got is it's never just talking about, oh, America's did X, Y, and Z bad thing. It's to engage in some apologia for something China is doing. That tends to be the discourse, doesn't it? Oh, China bad. What about America bad? That's the issue. So if you want to have a conversation about what America is doing that's bad, that's fine. You can have that conversation, right? But it seems like a lot of the time it's in context of what's going on with China and trying to engage in some sort of apology for China where, you know, I don't know, like China. I don't know why people act like China is some fucking utopia. It's wild to me. I like to visit China, to be fair, as a visitor that can definitely leave and not get trapped there. It's not as bad as like North Korea. But there's a lot of like civil liberty issues and things like that that exist there and loads of stuff. I don't know much about it, but. Well, they wouldn't love me when I do my little trick of going up to them and, you know, do the Chinese accent to prove that systemic racism isn't a thing or whatever it was.
But since the 2000s, like because of an insane amount of development and insane trade relations with the rest of the planet, there are tier 1 cities that are even larger and have more economic activity than Hong Kong in and of itself. And there was always a timeline where Hong Kong was going to be given back to China. They just accelerated.
Svuxon, why are you posting? Okay, can you go back to giving me little dribbles of bits to help fill the bars? Can you do that? Because I've got to be honest with you, this posting of big comments I'm not really for. I prefer it when you just give me money. I'll read it in the hope that you give me some more bits. Both agitation, work among people who are not communists, and propaganda, political work among party members, were the responsibility of the Agitprop or APO. Its head was a member of the MK Secretariat, although they ranked second to the head of the August Predel. Typically, Russian agitprop explained the ideology and policies of the Communist Party and attempted to persuade the general public to support and join the party and share its ideals. Agitprop was also used for dissemination, I presume it cuts off. Okay, why? Remember, didn't Hasan have a show called Agitprop? Hasan, for a time, Hasan's whole fucking aesthetic was the fucking agitprop, fucking USSR shit, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Did it by
anyway,
like 2 decades,
now?
if I'm not mistaken, because that was a lease on Hong Kong. So the people of Hong Kong, there were certainly a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want to be a part of the Chinese state. But overall, if you look at the situation in Hong Kong right now, it's like they claimed that it was going to be devastating, and that has not happened.
Not that we know of, because they can't. They have no freedom of speech anymore.
Okay.
They can't talk. They lost
that
their
part
right.
is true. You're right.
What are we going to learn from that?
I will not.
They have secret prisons, bro.
I do not agree with.
Is that true? I don't know anything about that. Is that true? Do they really restrict freedom of speech in Hong Kong now? That sounds a bit much.
China's social or civil liberties policies. I do not agree with that at all. That's why I don't live in China. I live in America.
No! Ping Quilling, no. Oh, can we watch that video? That's a classic as well, isn't it? Well, we don't need to. You get the gist. That's a funny video. Because obviously, what's he called? John Cena. John Cena is like a big popular figure in China. So he acts as like a kind of a conduit of propaganda or something, doesn't he? So he goes over there and just speaks in Chinese to like G up. Oh, excuse the pun. To G up the fucking Chinese market, doesn't he? Honiwa, Ben Quilling. That sort of thing, isn't it?
However, having said that, you can just go to Hong Kong. And you can just go to every part of China pretty much and see for yourself. This is no longer like the...
Oh, that was it. Yeah, he said Taiwan was a country and he had to do a public apology to the people of China.
The North Korea-style hermit kingdom where like no information comes out. Like we have
regardless.
We have a shit ton of Chinese people that live in America. And
regardless, bro, it's not that
China.
They had rights. They don't have rights now. They lost a lot of rights. But whatever. I mean... This is interesting that you're very soft. You're very soft-footed around the issue of China. You love China.
I think China.
If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
Once again, I don't live there. I choose to live here because of the issues that you just brought up, which is civil liberties being taken away, no freedom of speech, walled garden internet. Like there are certainly parallels to the American state or the Western world that there are certainly comparisons that you could make, but overall, that kind of mechanism of control is one that I
feel like this is like a form of like this apologia, where you go like, you know, what exact comparison would there be? I don't know. Like China is extremely restrictive in their free speech. They're a closed internet. There's certain websites you can't even fucking access in China. There's this social credit system, which I was, you know, when I first heard about it, was skeptical about. But no, apparently it is a thing. The social credit score thing does exist, and it can influence your ability. And people try and compare it to like a credit score, right? But a credit score, although flawed, is a system by which you assess whether someone is going to be able to repay back a debt if they take a debt out with you, right? It's flawed, but it's not the same as the fucking Chinese social credit system where you can get turned down for a fucking hotel room because you jaywalked or something. It's so ridiculous. Actually, that is such a good point, right? Imagine being this scared to say your opinion when you're willing to say America deserved 9/11.
do not appreciate personally, which is why I choose to live here. But as far as like cruelty, oppression, like what you're talking about with respect to Hong Kong, the promises that Western media overall made about like how China was going to crush Hong Kong under its like ruthless, oppressive thumb has not happened.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was just that there's whoever was, vocal about.
They can't have Reddit or OnlyFans invade. I mean, I'm not saying that you should invade China, but I personally would rather live in a country where I've got the option of accessing.
Welcome to Chud Nation.
Hey, liberal Chad, thank you for the sub. Well, at least got the option of accessing, certain websites. I don't like the idea of cutting off websites completely. Like, for example, in my country at the moment, it's impossible to access Russia Today. There's some sort of thing where the certain European country can't access it. I'm against that as well. I think that's wrong too, okay? I don't like the fact that there's certain websites that get cut off unless it is like literal just pure illegal material or something. But yeah, that's the whole point, is having the choice and the option to access things. Even if it's stuff that I wouldn't personally access, it's still wrong for a country at the state level to cut that off completely. Like, what is hard about that to understand?
Wanting to maintain certain rights in Hong Kong was probably thrown in a secret prison and never heard from again.
I mean, certainly there was political dissidents are definitely
not the
political
best.
dissidents are definitely like
taken out back.
They're not killed or anything, but even then it's like completely
They
unacceptable.
take a walk and they go for a beer and they don't come back. You know what I'm saying?
they're not good on that stuff. 100%.
But well, anyway, I was just curious. I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but you say you think the people of Taiwan, whatever they want, and it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems?
Yeah. Which is the current.
Like Israel and Palestine?
Oh my God. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Come on.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just trying to get you.
That part is like literally, I mean, that's an advocacy in the opposite direction, in my opinion, where
independence for Taiwan. You heard it here from Hasan.
Because remember, like the overwhelming majority of people living in Taiwan are still Han Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, despite the fact that it's a separate country, it's still like the same people.
Wait, hang on a minute. This is like some sort of ethnic purity fucking argument for a country, isn't it? What the fuck? Dude, that's insane.
The language is the same. People will say
Ukraine belongs to Russia for that exact reason.
I don't think Ukraine belongs to Russia because Ukrainian nation state, the Ukrainian nation state project, there are similarities. You're not wrong about that. But the Ukrainian nation state project as a well-defined nation state has always has been around for much longer than like Taiwan being an independent nation state.
So the people's entitlement to freedom.
Like you can make a better argument for Crimea being a separate country than like.
But what I'm hearing is that it's just a function of how old their culture is, how entitled they are to freedom.
It's not.
The thing for me with stuff like that is if you're going to make arguments like, oh well, in that country that a certain percentage are ethnically Han Chinese, I guess the suggestion there is that it's unreasonable to expect or want them to have some form of independence. How the fuck can you possibly argue against like the far right when they make the same arguments about like white people in their countries? Like you just can't. You're making the same argument they do, but apparently because it's about the fucking Han Chinese, it's acceptable because they're Chinese or something. Like, it's so stupid. This is what happens when your ideas are rooted in such a basic understanding of looking at things like race and identity and stuff like that, I
think that it's like those two concepts are not the two concepts at play here. Like, it's not like entitled to freedom versus what was the other thing that you said?
Well, it just seems like you're talking about like their they have some kind of national heritage or identity,
like Israel Palestine,
no,
being
the same
people, I think, makes that kind of, especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between. It's literally like a mile off the coast, you know what I mean, of China. Having all of that factors into like whether there's going to be assimilation or not. And there is no need for assimilation even. They have like normal trade relations with Taiwan, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why it's considered to be a delicate political conversation, but one that currently the current system benefits both.
And so if
places.
China takes military action against Taiwan, as some people speculate may happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would not be good. I don't think that would be good. I think that would be really, really terrifying. It would be disruptive for the entire global economy as well.
Right, but I'm just mean like from whose army are you joining? Whose front line are you fighting?
It's so funny. Ethan is pushing him for like a hard answer on this. That's really funny. He's really prodding him, isn't he? And he's kind of dancing around it a bit and trying to go to the nuances of it.
Fucking moving to
Taiwan.
I'm moving to an undisclosed location. I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
Oh, he said it was a mile in, so he's wrong about the actual detail of the situation. Okay.
I'm on the front.
I'm gonna be on a fucking ship.
Whoever has the
streaming.
best computer chips, I'm fighting for.
Okay.
I'm a chip boy myself.
If it wasn't for America,
I've got to be honest with you. If I was asked to pick a side between Taiwan and China, right, and I showed up there to fight, which is never going to happen, obviously. If I showed up there, I wouldn't know who's who. How the fuck would you tell the difference? Be clueless. Probably end up fighting for the wrong side. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We're going to fight these Chinese fuckers. We're going to beat them. What do you mean? We're Chinese. Wait, what? Get shot to bits by a bunch of fucking Chinese privates or whatever. The Qingnonghua. That's the Chinese equivalent, I think. That's how you say it in Chinese.
China would have some pretty solid chip technology, but America's like regularly trying to stop that process. Like they went to the Netherlands to be like, you can't sell China your chip technology, which is fucking insane if you ask me.
It's incredible the
Tom Z's coming out today. It's okay. It's just satire.
The takes in chat, how many people are like, just the polarization of this topic. It's fucking insane.
Well, of course there's going to be polarization on the topic because the American media has been gearing people to be across the board like vicious no matter what to any foreign adversary, China being the main foreign adversary now. So people are going to be very passionate in their defense and start saying, we care.
The thing is, like, look, there is a point of like manufacturing consent and be dubious of the press. That's totally legitimate. And seek multiple sources, multiple legitimate, valid sources, even sources that disagree with you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I agree with all of that, right? That's true. But I feel like when people make these kind of points, it does downplay the fact that China is, in some cases, in opposition to like the goals of like the country that you live in, you know? And I'm not like a nationalist or something like that. But obviously, if you're American, your interests are not with the Chinese state. But if you're Chinese, your interests are probably more so aligned with the Chinese state, right? Like, this is the country you fucking live in, isn't it? You know? Do you see what I mean? And I feel like it's difficult to kind of get around that. Like, as much as I might have a criticism of the British state, etc., like, I still know what side of my bread is fucking buttered, right? And if a bunch of fucking people invaded my country, I'd be hoping the British state do something about it and stop that from fucking happening. So it's like, yes, the press does have an influence and does propagandize. Every press does this, including the American press. But if push came to shove, your overall interest is generally broadly going to lie with the country that you live in and what it does and doesn't do, right? Big Greg's a nationalist, yeah. Any Chinese come here? I'll show them what's for. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think these are like, there's a conversation to be had, absolutely, about it. But these takes are just so fucking reductive, and it just reduces it down to like a mockery of what the underlying concepts are supposed to be about, right? Because this is the thing that lefties do a lot. They talk about Noam Chomsky and like manufacturing consent, and they use it as an absolute criticism of, like, say, the American press. And they completely denounce the American press off the basis of manufacturing consent. But Noam Chomsky's point was never like, yeah, the American press fucking sucks and you should never listen to them and never believe them. It was to look and to scrutinize. And I think there's even a quote where he says, you know, I still read like American press because X American paper is one of the best sources of information that exists. But, you know, just be skeptical about things. Don't just outright dismiss
Care about
things.
the people in Taiwan. You're not talking about the people in Taiwan. You don't care about them.
It's the media. If it weren't for the media's propaganda, people would not be siding with Taiwan.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. Why the fuck does no one care about Yemen? You know what I mean? Why? Because Saudi Arabia is the one, our ally, Saudi Arabia, is the one doing the
I mean, people do care about Yemen, don't they? I mean, this is another thing. This is like this kind of, it's like a populist brainwash. Why does no one care about X country? And it's like, well, people do care about it and talk about it, you know? I don't think it's as simple as like no one cares about fucking Yemen. Yes, I'm going to watch the Dispatches documentary tomorrow. Look up Yemen on Hasan's channel. Okay. That's actually a good idea. How do I do a channel search? Videos. Oh, here we go. Search. So we've got one video which is confronting Mizkif about Saudi Arabia. Now, that strikes me more so as... No, I don't pin my... I need to do that. I think it's old and outdated. But that, to me, is obviously capitalizing on a public discourse to get some fucking views, which is fine, but I wouldn't classify that as like a Yemen video, you know? What's happening in Turkey? Is Joe Biden fucked? Ukraine. Conservatives crying about the death. Yeah, there's not much content he's putting out about Yemen. Yeah, like, yeah, you're not talking about it either, mate. So what's the fucking big deal here?
genocide in Yemen.
That's so wild to me. I mean, maybe you could say he's talking about it in some other part of his stream or something like that. But yeah. Anyway.
And you never see people get this passionate about Yemen. You don't see people get this passionate about Syria.
I think Taiwan has more relevance to the United States, like in terms of economical, and social.
Yeah, that was developed.
Well, that's only natural that people would care more about something that affects them more. I don't think Yemen. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't think Yemen affects.
I don't even know what is even going on in Yemen. I saw a bunch of kids getting killed or some shit. Is that it? Wasn't there an earthquake there? Didn't 11,000 people just die in an earthquake or some storm or something recently? Yeah, I hear there's a lot of... Okay.
But it's still people.
Libya. It's all the same, isn't it? All fucking brown people in a big pot mixed together.
There's still people that are being mercilessly slaughtered, whereas no one is being slaughtered in Taiwan in a similar capacity, and yet there are way more passionate because...
Yeah, what's that? 10,000 Libyan lives. That's about 10 Americans. And I don't say that as a racial superiority thing, as in if you're in the West, it would take an inordinate amount of people dying for you to actually meaningfully care about it. But if a fucking dog gets run over by a car down the road, you go an uproar about it. But to be honest, it does speak to Ethan's point, which is true. You know, I remember when I was like 14 on fucking Facebook. Yeah, man, no one cares about when a bunch of fucking brown people die. No one gives a shit if something happens along. It's very simple. If bad thing happen long way away, big, not care. Something small happen really close, care. It literally is as simple as that. This, it's just the way we operate, isn't it?
Saying it's
like
right or
you
wrong.
said,
I mean,
it is designed to have this kind of.
And you think that if the only reason
consent.
people care about Ukraine is because of the media?
Absolutely, 100%.
Nobody would care.
I mean, it's true that the media, in the fucking ancient times, before we wouldn't know about some tribe over there fighting or whatever. But I don't think it's true. I mean, okay. The Ukraine situation, I think, captured attention because we can relate to Ukrainians. We can relate to that situation. And it's a massive fucking event that's happening, right? The media has definitely pushed a weird mentality amongst certain people, right? There's definitely some weird Ukraine insane levels of dick sucking. I'm talking about people that are going on to Reddit and doing the fucking Reddit posting, acting like they're going to go out and fight for Ukraine, but they're never going to go out there and all this kind of shit. That's the kind of thing I'm referring to. But there's definitely a bit of weirdness here. But then obviously there's also the narrative of it that I think people like, which is obviously the idea. Yeah, the NAFO people. Oh, God, it's a bit much, isn't it? Even if you're pro-Ukraine, you must look at that and be like, oh, that's a bit rich for my blood. Come on, we don't need to get quite that crazy about it. But I think the reason that it's captured attention is because it's the narrative of Russia invading Ukraine, an independent nation, da, da, da. And also I think because, again, even though maybe it's far away, it's all fucking white people, isn't it? Sort of. This is how whites see the Ukraine war.
Me, I'm sorry. It's very emotional for me because I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles and his helicopters and his rockets.
And so, of course, I understand and respect the emotion. What you are outlining there is this tension between longer-term efforts to apply pressure to Vladimir Putin, such as financial sanctions, and the very immediate military threat which you're experiencing.
I'll tell you one thing that was always funny about the Ukraine stuff as well, though, right? Is there was even a UN post, I think, but it seemed like every single fucking picture that was getting taken of some Ukrainian soldier, there was some flavor of Nazi symbology somewhere on their uniform, like a black sun, or you'd look and you'd be like, oh, what's that? And you'd look it up and it was like, this was used by Adolf fucking Hitler or some shit like that. It's like, yo, what the fuck? Maybe cover that up at least. Come on, we're a bit more sensitive over here to that sort of shit. But yeah. Oh, do you remember that? There was that one post. I think it was by Azov Battalion. And there was a video of them and they were greasing up bullets. And the post was post was about they referenced some sort of Muslim ethnic group in Russia and fighting the orcs. And they were oiling bullets up with pig's grease. Because obviously the pig is a sacred animal or whatever the fucking thing is. Jesus Christ. Yo! Was it the Chechens? Yeah, the Chechens. You were telling me on my military... Well, I mean, that's the other question as well. Is if you were to go into the average... Well, maybe not American military, but if you went into some of these more rural... American military associated things like National Guard and stuff like that, which I think Azov is probably somewhat the equivalent of. I wonder how many interesting symbols you'd find there, Walk into one of those bases, a big fucking Confederate flag on the wall and shit like that.
Yeah, of course.
Did anybody care about Georgia?
Yeah. That's a great
Probably,
question.
I don't know.
No one gave a shit about Georgia. That's crazy.
Hold on. Well, I mean, what about in Europe? They seem to care about Ukraine a lot.
It's the similar principle. Media is still media everywhere around the world.
Is he really suggesting that people in Europe are interested in that conflict because of the media? I mean, obviously, fundamentally, you need to get past the point without media, no one would know about fucking anything. If we're all feudal serfs, no one would fucking know what's going on anyway. But obviously in Europe, there's a, you know, particular vested interest in Europe because it's happening on your fucking doorstep, and the impact of that could be felt in your fucking country. God, it's so ridiculous. You know, I would even argue that some of the American hysteria, you know, there's a point to be made there about that. But like in Europe, we're talking about people who's on the doorstep. Of course, there's natural they're going to be way more interested in it.
I mean,
it plays
Ukraine
a very significant role in people's lives.
Hold on. Ukraine borders Europe, and I mean...
And yeah, exactly. That's the other thing as well. The scars of the Soviet Union and the Cold War still, particularly in Eastern Europe, are enormous. Fucking enormous. And for a lot of people in those countries, you know, there's a sort of historical relevance there that comes into play as well. Especially when you consider that there's obviously these claims going around that Putin, you know, operates in the service of like trying to sort of recreate or bring about some flavor of that history in his presidency. So of course people are going to feel it's close to their hearts, especially, you know, when we're literally like, you know, what, one generation away from the fall of the USSR.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Georgia is not really in such a geographically strategically important location as Ukraine.
Okay.
Well, I'm just explaining why people might care more about Ukraine than Georgia. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying
Still
why.
people. It's the people that are being ruthlessly slaughtered.
I'm just
Okay. This is so funny. I said Hasan has got the 14-year-old Facebook tape that I made. You know, where you think you fucking know it all, you think you know best, so you're like, huh, why don't people care about this atrocity happening in a country that barely anyone's ever heard of to a bunch of brown people? Like, yes, if something is in your face, it's going to be more concerning and of interest to you than some atrocity happening in a country millions of miles away that you never fucking heard of. It's like, yeah. You care more about a fucking cat getting run down at the end of your street than some fucker getting shot to death a million miles away. I don't know if there's a name for it. I don't know if there's a term for it in psychology or something. But yes, this is just how we operate, correct? What's the word for it? Does anyone know?
saying, because your theory is that
yeah, exactly, yeah. Everyone cares about Ukraine. Why is no one talking about the medical shortage in Sri Lanka? What is that about? Because no one fucking gives two fucks about Sri Lanka.
Support for Ukraine.
Distance bias, is that it?
Ukraine and Taiwan is essentially manufactured, that it wouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist.
I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I'm simply stating that,
yeah.
I'm simply stating that
it's manufactured. People only care about it because they've been tricked to caring about it.
It's not tricked, but dude, like, normal people don't think about foreign policy. Are you saying that you don't think that normal people's opinions about like international matters are shaped by what they see on the news and what's prioritized?
I'll give you a better example.
No, that's a different argument, though. That's a different argument. Yes, of course, you can make a very strong argument that people's views of foreign policy is influenced by the media. Hasan is claiming that people care only because of the media. That's a different fucking claim. Who cares, though? This is all fucking content anyway.
Of course it is.
Hold on, because I'm being double teamed now, so I need to speak.
Okay.
Of course it is. But this implication that you're like, if you say nobody cares about Taiwan or Ukraine because of the media, it implies that, you know, the support for those two countries or care for those two countries is like, you know, manufactured. That it's really not sincere. That's what it sounds like.
You jumped to that. Nobody
I'm
said
sorry.
No, I am saying that. I think,
he is saying that.
Yeah, I'm saying that the support for the overwhelming majority of Americans, for any country that
authentic.
Any country that the United States of America has a genuine interest in is manufactured in either direction. It can be manufactured carelessness and inconsideration, like being inconsiderate and ruthlessly violent at certain points, which is the example I was going to use with 9/11 and what we did post 9/11, or it could be manufactured in the other direction where it's like, this is the just war. This is the just war that we have to fight, like we did in Vietnam originally, when there was need to generate popular support for whatever kind of action America consistently takes. Now,
I'm not denying that propaganda exists.
Yeah.
But I
about it
am
this way.
saying that like the comparison of Ukraine to Georgia is not. It's not apples to oranges. That's all I'm saying. It's not.
What
Welcome
What do you
to
mean
Chud
by
Nation.
this? That it's
Ukraine borders like mainland Russia or Europe.
Thank you for the sub.
Okay.
Europe cares a lot about it.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, what is this? This looks like a fucking banger. Okay, I wasn't going to watch any of the edits. There's so many. What's this?
Is that a gram? New card. What do you think?
I would say that it's probably more. I would say that in Europe, there's probably more of a not controversy necessarily, but it's a more.
I had a YouTube video in the background. That's that Edwin video. We'll watch that in a little bit. I can't wait to see if Edwin raped or not.